I am going into how we're going to make this cauldron candle. I'm going to give you all just a minute to tune in. It's been a minute. Y'all know it's witchy season. Everybody in the Discord family is already making their potions. They have their altars set. But like promised, I am going to some fun facts about how this whole conjuring situation works and why this particular recipe that I'm going to give you all is top notch. So we're not just making, we are definitely tapping into some ancient magic. Y'all know we always have to do it the best. So welcome back, all my witches. Throw some witch brooms and some witch hats in the chat. What up, what up, what up? Peace, family. Make sure the notification is out there. Y'all know I'm gonna wait for a minute, so I'm gonna let y'all blow up the chat. How many y'all miss me? Send some energy this way, okay? Now, what up, Nagasakwa? What's up, Mermaid K? What's up, Oracle Medusa? Naga Chocolate's in the building. Seven, how you doing? What's up? What was that? Fakon? Meluzin. Hello. What's up, Sekar Naga? Goddess. Hey, hey, hey. Blow up the chat, y'all, with your witches' brooms and your witches, your candles. Been waiting to do this with you all. Slow down a bit so we can get this in because we are right here. We're right here. We're in the midst of the most potent magic of the year when it comes to the witches. Y'all know this is our time of year. This is when it's totally finned. This is where you can get the most access to the portals between the underworld and the earthly realms, and all of the essence of the herbs that you'll be working with is going to be available. And we're working with fire. Yes. Peace and love, fam. It's, I'm looking at my face. I'm like, oh my God, my face looks like my cheeks. I feel like I look like I'm eating something and I'm not, you guys. All right. Y'all ready? Are y'all ready? Now, don't be mad at me. Trust me, you have enough time. Okay? Trust me. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, darlings. Thank you. I decided to use my headphones. I feel like I can trust the microphone. All right, so get your notebooks together because you're not going to want to lose this information. You're going to want to have it when you go to apply the steps involved to creating your iron cauldron, your rich witch. This is not a regular candle, this is for a rich witch. Okay? But the information that I'm going to share with you is going to give you some more, this is going to have you be more informed for when you actually are putting together your first candle. Okay? And I think that it's important that you fully understand what you're doing. So when you go into your craft, you really, really tap into your sorceress and your sorcerer energy. Because this is like the carpenter who brought Pinocchio to life. It's really important that you understand one, that although all of the new agents to conjuring candles and such, this particular type of magic is at least 5,000 years old. Okay? At least that. So that's one. Number two is that of creating candles always began with, especially in the spiritual realm, right? Always began with creating a portal within a temple or at a shrine that sends a message out. It sends a message out. Not only does it send a message out, but it actually purifies the space and upgrades the frequency so that the energies that you're calling will come. Okay? Y'all get me? So fire in itself is a deity. Shouts out to all the Sri Suktam initiates. In the way that you have for the Sri Suktam initiates who received the secret in regards to the god of fire through the Vedic science, Gibel is also there in the Sumerian science. In all the various gods, fire itself is a living, breathing entity. All right. And so it's necessary that we show utmost respect for the element that we're going to give birth to after, okay, after we put all the other pieces. Now, what's important also is that, remember, like maybe a few months ago, someone was mentioning this thing with soy wax candles. And I'm going to touch on the basics of safety because we want to work with things that are safe for us. Obviously, we have enough things, pollutants that are leading many people down the road of ingesting, breathing in, and putting on all types of pathogens, right? We want to focus on not just the breast cancer awareness months. We want to look at the ingredients of our magical supplies that will forever be for our benefit, magically and physically. That's out to everybody who, you got a little fairy in your heart, you want to care about the environment. All right. But there are particular meanings behind each of the materials. So, one, for this particular key conjuring, the vessel is very important. All right. The vessel is very important. And it should always be regarded as a sacred vessel. Why? Because the cauldron itself is going to be made out of iron. Hopefully, you all can get yourself an iron cauldron. Iron connects directly to the magnetic field of the earth. Okay? Write this down. The materials are very important. Okay? Iron also connects us to the blood of the earth. So, looking at the vessel, I'll use a smaller version right now, right? The vessel itself represents the womb. Okay? Everyone can see that? The womb. So it's very much akin to the human being, the woman, the divine feminine. And what you're going to find is that the cauldron is black. Okay? It is black. This particular science connects us with the seriousness and the longevity of Saturn and with the beauty and the art of giving birth to our desires, Venus. Yes. And iron is also Martian. Okay. So when you're working with this tool, you are going to be very, very specific very, very specific, because the iron, the qualities of the iron of the cauldron, all produce that magnetic effect, right? But it's pulling towards it. So um, when we have things that are electrically charged, right? There will be an attraction here. So what I want you all to understand about this particular candle, and although I'm giving you ingredients for the Rich Witch candle, I want you to understand that if you use that information that I'm sharing with you for any other means, let it be one of bringing something to you because of the materials you are using. Write that down. Okay? Write that down. So this particular candle and this form, this materials that you're using, we're not going to use it to repel. So you would have to tap into your witchy creativity, because working witchcraft with witches, there has to be a part of you in it. So as much as there are incantations and there are specific formulas, there has to be an element coming from within you put into the candle, because witches represent sovereignty. And the most complicated aspect of witchcraft, especially by witches who are bloodline witches, okay, is that there is always that hidden ingredient that comes from within your creativity. So some of the conjurations or the incantations that come to you when your witch energy is present, you notice there's a rhyming scheme, which puts the breath and the spirit into what you're conjuring. That itself turns to something that is living, that you can pass on to the witches in your bloodline. But not every witch will necessarily have that particular code of incantation once you've given birth to it. Once you've used it and you see that it works, that's what you keep secret and sacred inside of your grimoires to pass down to the witches in your bloodline. Okay? It does require that aspect, that tapping energy that you need to tap in requires that you go into a bit of a trance, because you're pulling it directly from source. Let me get some brooms in the chat if that makes sense. All right. I told you I was going to share some things that you're not going to just find in a book. Okay? This is why over all of these millennia, working these candles and this type of witchcraft has survived and able to find a way to kind of slip through and live generations after generation after generation, because the messages live in our blood. They whisper to us. Okay. And you got hoodoo witchcraft uses this. You have Sumerian magic uses this. You have all forms of African diasporic branches of African science uses this. Okay. Yoruba, Santeria, in Kimbanda, the whisperings of how to put together this kind of poetry survives beyond what has ever been written. All right. Now, when it comes to this candle work, We're working with sympathetic magic. Okay? Sympathetic magic. All right? For us, we're going to be focusing on something that we truly desire. And through every piece that we put into our cauldron, we are entering it with that desire. Okay? From our minds into our hearts, into our fingertips, and using the spirit of each element. So, your number one ingredient, you're going to need a cauldron. Okay? An iron cauldron. Everybody knows you're going to need an iron cauldron. All right? The next piece that I kind of mentioned was that you are going to need some kind of paper to write your petition in. You have to write down what it is that you are desiring, because this is the most simplest form of bringing something from the unmanifest into manifestation. Through the ink as an extension of your spirit, you're writing it on this paper. Paper that is alive is your best bet. It's also the least toxic. So you have 100% cotton paper, okay, parchment paper that's available to you. And if you already have that, you have papyrus paper. You also, if you have access to larger leaves, for those of you who are in the tropics, or you might have nice plant families that you can use one of your elephant ears or such, or banana leaf, right? If you have a means of creating this paper using, if you use something live, you want to make sure that it's all the way dried out. All right. Because having moist ingredients in your candle, there's a sure bet that you're going to mess up the whole cementing process. So if you want to use something alive, write on it and then it so that it's all the way dry. And for this, you don't necessarily have to use that for the petition portion, because there's another aspect where all of you can gain access to a material that's easy to write on. Okay. I'll get to that in a minute. Oh, bet. Exactly. Bay leaves. Very good. Very good. You get something for free. I don't know what, but yes, bay. Okay. The petition itself needs to be at the bottom of the base of your candle. Okay. So next, someone. So let's talk about waxes, right? Ancient uses were or creations were using animal fats, beeswax. These materials were the best source of a wick lit. Okay, and access to them obviously easy to gain access to. But when it comes to creating a conjured candle, you want to understand why the kind of wax you use is so important, and what is the real meaning behind that. Okay. So the wax itself, it represents the body. Okay. Animal flesh, we are made of flesh. And unfortunately, many of the witches, they understand that flesh and fire melts and it becomes oil, right? The fat, it's oil. So the wax is important when you are getting ready. We have some cool things now, right? Because we have wax where um, it comes in a little pebbles. And I like for you all to use something like that before you melt it, because you have the opportunity to stir more of your intentions into it. Make sense? And what I love about beeswax, historically, beeswax is representing divine nature. Okay, of course, we have bees is connected to the goddesses, especially those of love, right? Beeswax is very much alive, okay? It's very much alive and it's connected to a moving animal. Therefore, it has a particular movement that comes from the nature of working together, okay? Bees work with each other in a language that only them and their colony understand. So think of those attributes when you're choosing your wax. And it's also natural, it's non-toxic. So it is one of the best options. Now, some of you have made candles before and you decided, okay, I want toxic materials. So they decided to use soy wax blends. But how many of you, by raise of a broom, have gotten yourself a soy wax candle and still, when you're burning it, your seed is burning your eyes. It's it's still leaving a residue that feels toxic. By raise of a broom, how many of you have had that experience? If I could, I'll put some brooms in the chat. Okay. One of the issues with the soy wax, unfortunately, is that the soybean itself is part of mass production. Okay. Once we move into mass production, that means the source has already been contaminated with lots of pesticides and herbicides. And it gets transferred to the material use you soy wax. You're not able to use wax that absolutely comes from a clean source, is organic, it doesn't have any remnants of those chemicals left behind. Again, your best bet would be the beeswax. All right. The most toxic of them all, paraffin wax. Sorry, but that's the case. Okay? And we want to be mindful of these materials. Got it? But the both of them are alive. And the third best option, actually not third best, like it's less good as beeswax or soy wax, is coconut. Okay, because coconut produces an oil. The flesh inside creates an oil, and it can also be made available as a wax. I need to, what happened? My wrenches, I need to add a wrench. All right. Nagasaki, you're a wrench. I think you should have some powers now. You should have some powers. All right. So let's backtrack a little bit. Now, fine. Because you have the blood of the earth embodied into the womb, the vessel that you're going to be creating this Rich Witch candle in, know that anything that is birthed inside of it is going to stay on earth. Okay? Which is why I love the concept of the Rich Witch, because you want your wealth to continue to grow abundantly with you here on earth. Right? Let me get some brooms in the chat. Now, for those of you who don't have access to an iron cauldron or you don't have the materials, I do have some pre-seasoned ones available, and you can just text me later on after this live if you're interested. 202-810-1876. 202-1876. Okay? So we have the wax is the body of the chat. Oh, the body of the spell, okay, is built through the wax. So when you're mixing, all right, don't just be mixing and being mindless, because this is where if you're not focused, you create your own deformity, if you will, in the baby. So pay attention to what you're doing. You got me? All right. So moving on. A little bit. Let me see if I have one here with me. I do. Let's talk a little bit about the wick. All right. So we have the vessel and we have the body. Now, what is this thing with the wick? What does it represent? Can anyone in the chat tell me? Now, this wick obviously is way too short for any of these. This is for a very small candle. Can anyone tell me this right here? What is this wick about? Anthony Greaves, that is a very good guess. All right. This is a very good guess. Anthony Greaves said the spinal cord, right? I'm going to go with the other cord, but the spinal cord, what's important, why I said that's a very good guess, is because that is like a highway, right, of information. But this is more primordial, more divine, more directly to the root. Okay, before we get to a spine, when we're giving birth, when we're watching the creation of an embryo into a fetus, this cord, this is the soul. This is the messenger between the divine realm, right? You feel me? This is the soul. So we have our right. We have this part that, just like as we're born, connects us to the wall of the womb, the blood of the womb, the nourishment of the womb is grounded in that. And to everyone else who was looking at the candle, they have no idea of the magic that has gone into what's holding the. How dope is that? How dope is that understanding? Let's get these lights up, y'all. So we have a direct messenger between the womb and us. So what I want you to be mindful of, again, a bit conscientiousness and caution. Right? I might have just made up a word, but that's what we do to create shit. Okay. I want you to use wood or cotton for the soul because it's still natural material. Witches are directly connected to and born of the earth. This is why witches traditionally are worried about going to heaven. They're not worried about going to hell. Okay? And I'll reiterate, they're especially not worried about going to heaven because they have already made the pact with the knowing that they belong to the earth. So a traditional burial of a witch is directly back into the womb of the earth. So the magic that comes from the witches is directly sourced from the earth herself. So here you are conjuring with materials that real authentic witches, okay? I know we have beautiful, sparkly, whatever, all kind of perfume things, but when it comes to this conjuring, you want to use these natural materials, okay? So you can get you a cotton wick that is wrapped or dipped in the soy wax or the beeswax, just to give it a little more body. All right. And for those of you who have never done this before, I mean, I can, but you can use a popsicle stick, you can use a pencil. You want to have it be longer than what you need so that you can wrap it around something to stabilize it. Center. Okay. Okay. You're going to either use like melt some wax and place it down there in the bottom. They do have like some kind of like sticker thing, but use what you have. All right. To stick the bottom cauldron, and then the long thread that's there, you'll be wrapping it so that it stays in the center when you get. Okay. Can you all see that? Let me see. Now it's not long enough. This one is not the best for a demonstration, but imagine, use your imagination. Okay. So you want to use a popsicle stick, a piece of branch, a pencil. Don't use plastic. I mean, I said don't use plastic because when you're pouring the hot wax, sometimes they're trying to avoid you including any like really toxic materials. And sometimes, you use a little piece of cheap plastic and you pour in your wax and then you lose the anchor because it starts melting under the heat of the wax. Kind of defeats the purpose. You know what I mean? Basically, you want it to hold in place so that it keeps the wick centered. You ever lit a candle and the the wick is all up against the glass and then it breaks the glass? A magical event is the fact that it was poorly made. So go figure. Okay. So now that we have this understanding, at the base of your cauldron, you have your petition. What are you calling into being? All right. Then the herbs. Now, what is important for you to understand about the herbs? You want to use dry herbs. And of course, I'm going to encourage you to use organic herbs. And you never need a whole bunch. If you can dry them yourself, wonderful, especially if you're doing some of these plants at home, like your rosemaries, your mints, your um, roses at home, whatever herbs you might be cultivating at home that are magical and suited for this recipe, use them because you've been speaking to those spirits and they're already on your side. You've been taking care of them, so they're going to take care of you. They themselves have a spirit and they are part of the communication between you and the soul. All right. You are going to put the herbs first. You're going to add your herbs to your wax so that it's well mixed. Okay. And you're going to add essential oils. Now, I'm saying essential oils. There's a difference between your synthetic oils. What up, Ango May? There's a difference between your essential oils and your synthetic oils. Listen, herbicides, go with that. If for whatever reason, like for example, if you were creating a love candle and you wanted to use apple blossom apples, right? You want 100% apple essence. If you don't have apple essence, you can't get the essential oil in time, get you some apples, skin them, and get as much of the meat off. Okay? Really clean it, dehydrate it, or dry it out in your oven, and put bits and pieces of it within your mix. But what we want to do is when we get to larger pieces, like some of the crushed stones, the bay leaves, you want to do this in a layer. So the first portion that you pour into the womb is going to create a foundation and really lock in that wick. And you want to wait a little bit for it to start to solidify. Okay? Wait a little bit. That's the juice. Okay? After that starts to settle a bit, for wealth, okay, for you will take your bay leaves with your number amount written on it, and you would just tuck them, okay? One is enough. But when you want to create movement, you can use an odd number. These are pretty small, so you don't want to crowd it. A whole bunch doesn't make it even more powerful. Bear that. Keep that in mind. Don't have access to these mixes. I have a triple mix where the materials are already put together. All you want to do is melt it at home and pour it in. You can hit me up at 810-1876 if you're interested in having some extra, ashe added to your mix there as well. At this stage, you also can use your crystals. So, bear in mind, larger crystals do not handle heat very well. Larger crystals do not take heat very well. So if you don't want to have a candle that explodes on you, want to use very small fragments of crystal. Okay? The smaller fragments of crystal mix way better. And then what they do is that they have their own light within them that amplify your petition, your intentions. So this is why you would add any crystals to your particular conjuring candle. All right. We are crystalline beings. We're using the crystal. Continue to keep that in your mind, what you are actually doing, because you are giving birth to something. Okay. When you go to light that wick, you are adding the light of the soul, and it is going to communicate with you. Everyone who has been working with candles and doing some of the firework with the dragons, doing any type of spell work or sitting with any energies, you know that you're getting contact because that fire is communicating with you. It's going to crackle, it's going to pop, it's going to sway, it's going to swing, it'll go to one direction, it'll flip. That is how you know that your candle, your desires are coming to life and the messages are being sent out and drawn to you. All right, so let me get some more brooms in the chat. So why else will we be using these essential oils? Is it because we just want our smell good? You know what I'm saying? We got the flesh, we got the, got the body, we got the soul. But what's missing? What's missing? Let me get some more guesses. We got the blood. The blood in the womb already exists. There's an iron cauldron. We need the breath. We need the breath of life. It's called an essential oil. The smells that come from the different plants is a concentrated portion of each of those elements. And the aroma itself is a living breath of your desire. This is why we feed the soul the essential oil to give it a voice to speak, breath needs life to speak back to us. And the smell, as it goes into your nose and triggers the olfactory system, okay, you will naturally remember your desire in your space. And when anyone else comes into your space, that particular frequency is also going to speak to anyone that comes inside. So watch how the spirit 100 candle is actually working like how pollen itself sits on the flower. It doesn't have legs, it doesn't have arms, but each of the insects that come in contact with it carry some of it somewhere else. You understand? There's so many secrets to when you're conjuring that if you're not aware of what you're doing, you may treat it like you're making a meal. You're just trying to eat right quick. But this is a really sacred science for witches. This is a real sacred science for the priestess, the sorceress. Like this is a like a joke kind of like I know they have candle making classes and all that, and it can be cool like that. But when it comes to your conjuring of a candle, it's actually that deep. Let's get some witches in the chat. Some witches. Let me see the witches now. Some witches and some warlocks. So these essential oils, the crystals, these speak the language of the earth. And as you light your candle, that language is going to speak to all of what belongs to the earth all around you. And while the veil is thin, we have direct access to our ancestors and all that reside in the underworld. and they speak the same language. They will get moving on your desires. All right. Any questions for me? And y'all be careful with your wicks. Get some lead-free wicks. Any questions? Any questions? All right, y'all. So the whole recipe for the Rich Witch Cauldron Candle is going to be uploaded to the Discord. All right. If you're looking for love, um, you can use things like roses and damiana, apple. Looking for wealth, you can add the bay leaves. You can add some golden mica or some like the edible golden powder. Okay. Um, what else will I give y'all? What else? What else? Crystals. You can use some crushed citrine, some pyrite. Okay. Okay, I see some questions. I've used cotton wicks, but it is layered with beeswax and it doesn't burn as good with my beeswax. Do you suggest a stronger wick? Yeah, so if you've experimented and it's not working for you, change the brand. That's one. Or you can try to use a wooden wick. Okay. Um, can I call you Ia or mother? Yeah, either one is fine. Ia is an official title. But mother is the term of endearment that I receive around these parts. Okay. Any other questions? I don't know if Michael's carries the iron cauldrons, but I would say that, around this time of year, one, they should come to you pretty quickly if you order them on Amazon, and they should be on sale because, you know, the products off of their shelves, they're going to be offering larger discounts, and so you're in luck. Okay. Um, let me see. I have paper from 1930s from my grandmother. Can I use this? Or that's better for ancestor work. If your grandmother was a witch, then I would use that. But it's more in alignment with ancestors. Okay. So for this, you're tapping into your inner witch, and that energy is very, and it's like self-centered. Like you really into your own personal magic and allowing yourself to trust the process of inspiration between you and your inner witch. Okay. And by association work that you've been given in the Slytherin Discord, you will be acknowledged and you will not mistake it. You will be acknowledged and know that you've been acknowledged by the other witches in the other dimensions. After the candle burns, can I reuse this cauldron for making another candle? And for yes, you can. Absolutely, you absolutely can. And the materials that are left behind when you're finished working with it, those and you will bury them at a very healthy and strong tree at the base of that tree. From the earth to the earth is the oath of the witch. Okay? All right. So you all, I want y'all to put your questions, just tag me at the cheat code in the witches channel, and I will answer your questions there. I gotta run. I'm actually a little behind for class. So peace. I love y'all. Look out for the upload later on this evening. I'll see y'all soon. I'm out.